This scene demonstrates several types of lighting, and this is available in the download system. If you just click on environments, and then you can download the lighting sample here, and just press the install button, and that will download and install it. You need to be logged into your leadwerks.com account, which is available here. If you don't have that, then you can register a new account at leadwerks.com/community, and then you can just download all of this for free. So we'll start with the point light, and this is very simple. It just emits lights in all directions. It's good for something like a light bulb or a torch. You have the range value, and this controls how far out the light extends to. And you also have a fall-off mode. You have the linear mode, which is a softer fall-off, and then you have the inverse square fall-off, which is it will stay brighter longer, but it has a much sharper transition at the end. The near range is used for the shadow map rendering, so that should just be a small value, but not zero. And then the shadow map size, usually you can just keep the default size, but if you have a light that covers a very large area and you need a higher resolution shadow there, then you can increase that if you need to. The spotlight emits a cone of light in its forward direction. You can see here that the spotlight is angled, it's pointing down at 90 degrees. If we set that to 0 degrees, then the angle of the cone, the direction the cone is facing, changes. A spotlight also has these cone angle values. These are the outer cone angle and the inner cone angle. And so if I increase this, you can see the effect that has. That makes a wider cone. And then the inner cone angle is the angle at which the light starts to fade out. So let's set this to 44 degrees. So they're going to be really close together. And so that transition zone between like maximum brightness and shadow is only 1 degree. If I set it to 40, then that spreads it over 5 degrees, and that gives it a smoother look. Or I can make it very, very smooth like that. The box light also emits light in a direction forward. And these are good this is good if you have an indoor scene, but you just want some sunlight coming through a window in one spot. Then a box light is great for that because it's a very simple light, and you don't have to have a full directional light, which is quite a lot more expensive. You can just place a couple of box lights wherever you have windows, and that will simulate sunlight coming in. And again, this is, if we change the rotation here, then you can see the effect that has. In the editor, you can have one directional light, and this is controlled up here in the World Settings dialog. The sun color controls the color of the sun, along with this brightness slider. You can use that to make it very, very bright, or to just adjust it gradually. Azimuth is just the Y rotation, so you can use that to rotate the sun angle. Elevation is just how high the sun is, so you can have a low elevation for a sunset, or a very high elevation. That'll make it like it's high noon. The ambient light level is usually you don't need it, but you can use it if you want. This will just add some solid light to the scene. And then the IBL intensity slider, this will control how strongly the environment maps affect the scene. So you can have this global skybox specular reflection map and diffuse reflection map, and these are typically stored in the same folder like this. Let's take another look. You can find them in materials, environment, and there's always one in default, and then you'll find some other ones that you can download through the Downloads Manager. But the skybox will look like that. The specular map, it's just processed specially. And you can see it gets blurrier at each map. And then the diffuse reflection map is a very blurry reflection of it's a very blurry version of the skybox. And these are used in the PBR lighting equation to make metallic surfaces look like metal, and plastic surfaces look like plastic. This helmet here is a really good example of that, of PBR material. You can see how shiny it looks. Now, if you have an overhang or an enclosed space like this little building, then let me hide this probe. The interior of that is still going to be using the PBR reflections that are set for the whole scene, and it looks kind of unnatural. So what I did here is I added an environment probe. And this just calculates a set of cube maps for this volume. So this little room here has its own set of reflection maps. And these are applied inside any object that's inside here. Now the probes also have a fade parameter for each edge. So by default you can see this sharp border here in the boundary between the probe and the outside world. You can see this very sharp boundary, and that's good when it's along the walls because we actually want that, but on this edge here it doesn't really make sense. So one way we can deal with that very easily is to just fade in that value. $100 looks okay. And then it just gives us a little bit more of a gradual transition, and it's even less noticeable when you have materials applied to the walls here. Now you can see the effect this has, especially on this helmet 3D model. The side that's facing us is not being directly lit, and when we push it back here into this room, then it has a very dark indirect reflection, and when we pull it out, it's still not being directly lit by the sunlight, but you can see it gets a lot brighter. Just the indirect lighting gets a lot brighter for it. So this gives us really fine control to handle indirect lighting for indoor and outdoor areas combined in the same scene, and it's extremely performant. So it's just a really nice way of handling indirect lighting and making sure you have pretty good looking reflections everywhere you go without while still maintaining a fast frame rate.